My sister destroyed my relationship because she couldn't have her one true love, so I made her watch him fall for me instead. My younger sister, Mia, has been using the same excuse since she turned 21. She can't have her one true love, so she's entitled to destroy everyone else's. And I don't mean that in the cute, she's still hung up on her ex kind of way. I mean it like, if you're happy, she'll find a way to make you miserable, then blame it on her tragic love story, the one true love. Some guy named Ethan she met at a college party 4 years ago. They hooked up once, he never called, and somehow that became her origin story for being a piece of shit. It started with her best friend since kindergarten, Jess. One weekend, Mia stayed over at Jess's place, and by Monday, Jess's boyfriend was sending Mia good morning texts. When Jess found them together in her own bed, Mia actually said, "You don't understand what it's like to lose your soulmate." Jess never spoke to her again. Then came our cousin's engagement party. Mia showed up in a dress that cost more than my rent, got wine drunk and cornered the groom in the bathroom. His exact words later, she kept saying I reminded her of someone special. Thank God he pushed her off and told his fiancé immediately. But Mia? She cried to our parents about how seeing happy couples triggered her trauma. Mom bought her a spa weekend to help her heal. By the time I met Ryan, I knew the drill. I kept him away from family dinners, deleted Mia from my social media, and told him my sister was going through something and needed space. For 2 years, it worked. We got engaged last spring. Small ceremony planned, nothing fancy, just us and close friends. I made one mistake, though. I mentioned it at Mom's birthday dinner. Mia's eyes lit up like Christmas came early. "I'm so happy for you," she said while hugging me. "When do I get to meet him?" A week later, Ryan showed me his phone laughing. "Your sister found me on Instagram with some fake account. Look at these messages." We read them together, mocking her desperation, and then he promised to block her. Well, 3 weeks before my wedding, I had the flu. Bad. Ryan was supposed to be at his brother's golf tournament for the day, but my friend lived near Mia's apartment complex and texted me to come over since I was already at my sister's. What? She said she'd seen Ryan's Tesla in the visitor spot. My chest went cold. I drove over, fever and all, and used the spare key Mia had given me for emergencies. I found them on her couch, her head in his lap, his hand in her hair, both half-dressed. She looked up at me with those fake tears already forming. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "He just reminds me so much of Ethan," and I stormed out. He didn't even try to save what we had. That's when I decided she'd learn what losing really feels like. See, Ethan wasn't some mystery man who just vanished. We'd actually been following each other on Instagram for 3 years. We had mutual friends from college, the occasional like on each other's posts, but never really talked. He lived 3 hours away, worked as a physical therapist, and posted videos of his golden retriever. So I split into his DMs with a simple message. "Hey, this is weird, but my sister had a thing for you in college and just ruined my wedding. Want to help me ruin her life?" He responded in 12 minutes. "Mia, the girl who showed up at my mom's house? I'm in." Turns out she'd driven to his hometown, introduced herself to Ethan's mother as if she were an old acquaintance, telling a distorted story about how he was the love of her life, how they had been separated by circumstances. His poor mother believed it. She invited Mia for tea, they took selfies together, and she even posted saying, "Reuniting with my dear future mother-in-law." Ethan sent me everything, screenshots, videos, and even an audio of his mother saying, "She seemed so sincere, dear. I'm sorry if I caused any problems." That's when I knew. Mia wasn't going to stop. She didn't know how to love, only how to possess. And what she couldn't have, she destroyed. But this time, she didn't count on 2 things. That I was no longer that sister who let things slide, and that Ethan was willing to play the game. We planned every step. He would come visit me on the weekend of the family lunch. I hadn't spoken to Mia since I caught her with Ryan, but I knew she'd be there, because it was my father's birthday and no one ever missed the perfect family event. And me? I would show up with Ethan, holding hands, laughing, acting exactly how she dreamed of acting with him. On Friday, I picked up Ethan at the bus station. He was even more handsome in person. Charismatic, funny, gentle. The kind of man who shines effortlessly. The kind of man Mia couldn't manipulate. And he knew it. In the car, we rehearsed our lines, coordinated our gestures. And on Saturday, at 1 p.m., we parked in front of my parents' house. I walked in wearing a new dress, high heels, and a smile on my face. Ethan held my hand as if we'd been a couple in love for years. Mia was in the living room, laughing with my uncle when she saw us. Her laughter died in her throat. "Everyone," I announced, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "This is Ethan." The name hit her like lightning. She went white, then red, then forced herself to smile as if it were funny. "Ethan," she said, forcing an awkward laugh. "Wow, what a coincidence." He smiled politely. "Hi, Mia, good to see you again." That destroyed any control she still pretended to have. She stammered something, but I was already sitting down with him beside me, taking photos, posting stories. My every move was a blade to her vanity. During lunch, she tried to make conversation with him, reminisce about something from college that never actually existed. But Ethan made sure to look at me the whole time, call me love, put his arm around my shoulders. And every time he did that, Mia pressed her lips together as if she were swallowing glass shards. After the birthday toast, she finally couldn't take it. She locked herself in the bathroom. I followed her. I knocked on the door until she opened it. "What do you want now?" she asked with smeared makeup and a pleading look. "Just came to see if you're okay," I replied with fake concern. "After all, it must be hard to see a soulmate in your sister's arms, right? You're doing this just to hurt me. And you destroyed my engagement just because you couldn't stand to see me happy. So no, Mia. This here is just justice. He was mine," she screamed, punching the wall. "I saw him first. I felt it first." "No, Mia. You saw him once. And he never wanted you. You invented a love story in your head and used that as an excuse to be cruel to everyone around you. But now, you're going to sit and watch him love me. Because unlike you, I didn't have to beg." She collapsed on the floor, crying loudly. Mom knocked on the door, asking if everything was okay. I opened it and walked out with my head held high. I went back to the living room and sat next to Ethan. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "She's going to lose it even more. Are you ready?" I smiled. I've never been more ready. The next day, the repercussions were already visible. Mom called me early, asking for empathy. She said Mia had spent the entire night crying, that she was fragile, and that I should have avoided provoking her. "Provoking?" I asked, laughing humorlessly. "You think showing up with my boyfriend at a family gathering is provoking? Or is it that Mia just can't stand to see anyone happy without her being the center of attention?" She sighed on the other end of the line, as if I were the problem. "Honey, your sister has a sensitive heart. She gets attached easily." "Sensitive?" I interrupted. "Mom, she slept with my fiancé. She destroyed my wedding. And you're worried about her feelings?" I was feverish, alone at home, and she was lying with him on the couch, remembering Ethan. "You're not going to flip this around. Look, let's talk another day." And she hung up. At that moment, I realized no one there was going to defend me. The whole family always treated Mia like a broken ornament, but they forget she also has claws. She always had them. Only now, those claws were turned on herself. On Monday, Ethan was still in town. I decided to take him to brunch with some of my friends, those who knew everything Mia had been up to since high school. He was a showstopper, polite, gentle, charismatic, and completely devoted to me. The girls exchanged glances, enchanted. Some even whispered things like, "This revenge is too beautiful." But the best part came in the afternoon. Ethan posted a photo of us on Instagram. The two of us hugging in a park, simple caption, "Sometimes love appears when you least expect it." The comments started discreetly. A cousin, a former classmate, heart emojis, but then Mia showed up. Kmia.soulmate commented, "This is disgusting. You know what he means to me." Ethan liked her comment and replied, with surgical precision, "We hooked up once, Mia. Once. And you followed me down the street the next day. That's not love, it's obsession." Boom. In less than an hour, the post became a topic in our social circles. People who had known Mia since high school started commenting things like, "Finally, someone said it." I always thought the way she talked about him was strange. Karma exists. She stayed silent on the post, but sent me a series of voice messages on WhatsApp, crying, screaming, asking how I could use him against her. One of the voice messages ended with, "You're destroying my life for revenge." I replied with a simple text, "No, I'm just showing how to rebuild after being destroyed, something you never knew how to do." And then, without any ceremony, I blocked her. But I still wasn't finished. Not yet. I knew she wouldn't let it go easily. And sure enough, on Thursday night, I got a notification. Mia had made a post on Instagram. A selfie with a crying face, swollen eyes, that low bedroom lighting. And the caption, "It's hard to see your sister steal the man you love. Laugh at your pain and be applauded for it." I'm not perfect, but no one deserves this. Over 1,000 likes. People commenting, "Stay strong, take care. You'll get through this." And what hurt the most? Some people close to me reposted it. The next morning, I went to my parents' house. Mom answered the door, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I came to talk with everyone." I walked in. Dad was in the living room. Mia came down the stairs as if she were at a funeral, in sweatpants, hair tied back, that "I'm the victim" face. "Did something happen?" she asked, almost sweetly. "Something did happen. Enough of you manipulating everyone and coming out like you're the poor victim." I stopped in the center of the living room, looked at both of them. "Mom, Dad, did you see the post? Do you really think it's fair? Do you remember who destroyed whose engagement? Honey, this isn't how you solve." Mom tried. "No, now you're going to listen." I turned to Mia. "You seduced Ryan. You stabbed me in the back. You said sorry with fake tears and thought you'd continue being the family princess. But now the tables have turned. Now you're the one on the ground, crying. And no one's going to save you this time. Because it's not a sad post that will erase the screenshots, the voice messages, the testimonies. Everyone saw who you really are." The mask fell. Mia, she stayed silent, crying. Dad looked down. "I'm tired of being the forgotten daughter while you put on little shows. Enough. The stage is mine now. And the audience? They're on my side." I left without waiting for an answer. In the car, Ethan was behind the wheel, with the radio on and a coffee for me in the cup holder. "So?" he asked. "It was beautiful," I replied. "She finally saw that she has no control anymore." He smiled. "You know what? Getting revenge on her was more therapeutic than I imagined." "Yeah. And you know what's better?" "What?" "Part 2 is still coming." Part 2 began with an invitation. The launch party for my friend Andre's new restaurant, a chef known around here, with local influencer presence and lots of social media coverage. Mia, of course, was obsessed with this type of event. She always pretended to have a life she didn't. Posted photos in store mirrors, pretending to own the clothes. Ordered expensive food to take photos and return it through the back door. That was it. Appearances. But this time she wasn't on the list. I was. And so was Ethan. We arrived on the right foot. Literally. The entrance photographer stopped us to take photos, and one of them appeared on a city events profile with the caption, "Couple of the moment. Melissa and Ethan steal the scene at the opening night." Mia saw that the next day. Of course. Posted on her stories the classic indirect. Some people need the spotlight to feel alive. I prefer depth. Depth? From who? From someone who threw herself at my fiancé's lap 3 weeks before the wedding and was now crying on the internet because the guy she barely knew became my boyfriend? The following Saturday, another event. Amanda's wedding. Our cousin. Mia had always been very close to Amanda. She probably expected her friend to neutralize the situation and ask me not to bring Ethan. But Amanda called me personally. "Mel, please come and bring him. Everyone already knows what happened, and I don't have patience to pretend anymore with Mia. She needs to learn that the world doesn't revolve around her." Mia was there. Alone. Dressed too tight. Flawless makeup. Plasticized smile. Pretending she didn't see us when we walked in. Ethan hugged me by the waist, kissed my cheek from time to time, and all she could do was watch. But the scene that made the night worthwhile was during the bride and groom's dance. Amanda, very discreetly, called us to dance beside them. Ethan and I were there, in the center, spinning slowly, when Mia tried to approach. For the first time, she seemed disarmed. "Ethan, can I talk to you?" she asked with that look she thought was irresistible. He let go of my hand, looked at her and said, with complete calm, "No, I'm busy loving your sister." Mia froze. I took a deep breath, looked at her and added, "And for the first time in years, I'm being truly loved, something you never understood, because you only know how to confuse attention with love." She took 2 steps back, with tears in her eyes, and tripped over her own dress hem. No one laughed. It was worse. Everyone ignored her. That hurt more. She left the hall a few minutes later. And me. I kept dancing. For the first time in a long time, feeling like I was the one who had won. But my favorite part was still to come. A few weeks later, I was invited to participate in a podcast about overcoming and new beginnings. I didn't use names, but I told the story. The one about the narcissistic sister, the unfaithful fiancé, the calculated revenge, and of course, the unexpected love. The episode went viral. People from all over the country sending messages, congratulating me, saying they identified with it. Mia listened. I know she did, because the same day she sent a message to my DM. "Do you really need to expose yourself like this just to get applause?" And I replied without hesitation, "It's not exposure. It's liberation. I lived years in your theater. Now the story is mine. And so is the stage. She never replied. In the following days, I learned from third parties that Mia was becoming reclusive. Some brands she was trying to partner with cut contact. People started commenting about her obsession with Ethan. The reputation she fought so hard to build with filters and ready-made phrases began to crumble. And it wasn't me who brought it down. She sank herself. And me? I kept living. Ethan was no longer just a piece in my revenge. The truth is that, in the middle of all that chaos, he became shelter. A shelter that came disguised as an ally. But today was a true companion. And every day that passed, I saw what Mia tried to destroy only made me stronger. And she, who always wanted to win through manipulation, now only had silence as company. The first time I realized I wasn't thinking about Ryan anymore was on an ordinary morning, weeks after Amanda's wedding. We were in my apartment, the sun was gently shining through the window, and Ethan was in the kitchen, shirtless, making pancakes, the way he had been doing since the first week he spent with me. And while he hummed softly a song from the 2000s, doing ridiculous little dances that made me laugh, I realized Ryan was nothing more than a weak shadow in a dusty corner of my memory. It wasn't just revenge, not anymore. It was the way Ethan held my hand even when he didn't need to. It was how he listened to my childhood stories with a sincere smile, even though he already knew them all. It was how he looked at me while I read a book on the couch, as if he didn't need anything else in the world. I didn't expect this. When I called him in that impulsive message to help destroy my sister's fantasy, I thought it would be temporary, that he would pretend for a while until Mia gave up, until I felt avenged, and then life would return to normal. But it didn't return. Ethan became routine, presence, security. He met my friends, integrated into my work circle, started leaving toothbrushes and t-shirts at my house. When my car broke down, he was the first to show up with coffee and a tow truck. When I had an anxiety attack before an important presentation, he sat with me on the kitchen floor and stayed silent, just holding my hand, until I could breathe again. And Ryan? Not even a thought. Not one comparison. Nothing. He, who was once the center of my world, was now irrelevant. Because now I had someone who was present even on ordinary days. Ryan was made of future promises. Ethan, of present actions. One night, we went to dinner at a new restaurant that opened in town. Nothing fancy, just a nice atmosphere and good food. When we sat down, Ethan held my hand across the table and said, with that light tone I already knew well, "You know what's funny? We started this to fool your sister, but I never pretended anything." I was silent for a few seconds, my heart racing. "I'm not pretending anymore either," I replied, with an almost embarrassed smile. He laughed and raised his wine glass. "To the best revenge, then?" "No," I corrected. "To what comes after them." We toasted. And for the first time in a long time, I was at peace. Without resentment, without ghosts, without wanting someone to notice or validate me. I was there for myself, and so was he. A few days later, walking through downtown, I saw Ryan, alone, walking with his head down, as if the world was too heavy. It was automatic. I looked away. Not from pain, but because it simply didn't matter anymore. He saw me, hesitated, almost came to talk. But when he noticed Ethan approaching and intertwining his fingers with mine, he backed away. Maybe he finally understood that there was no more space for him, that the place he wasted with lies and omissions was now occupied by someone who, without promising anything, gave me everything. That night I hugged Ethan tighter and whispered without thinking much, "Thank you for showing up." He looked at me with that calm smile that said everything, even in silence. And I knew. Revenge gave me justice. But it was the after that gave me love. Months passed, and what began as a sharp response to my sister's poison became the sweetest part of my life. Ethan was no longer a plan, a move, a well-orchestrated provocation. He was my home, my partner in silences and laughter. We slept together almost every night, sometimes at my house, sometimes at his, where the golden retriever insisted on sleeping between us, like a guardian accomplice to this unlikely story. He officially asked me to be his girlfriend on a simple night, on the couch, while we ate pizza straight from the box and watched a silly documentary about marine life. "Do you think it's too early for this?" he asked, with the pizza box balanced on his lap and a smile at the corner of his mouth. "Or is it already too late?" "I think we've already been through worse phases than any couple together for 20 years, I replied, laughing. "It's just a title, but yes, I want to." And that's how it stayed. We didn't talk about Mia anymore. She disappeared from conversations, from social media, from messages. She blocked Ethan on everything, even though he never sought contact. She told acquaintances that she would never forgive me, that I had stolen the love of her life just to rub in her face what she couldn't have. She didn't bother to admit that she destroyed my wedding before all of this. But you know what? I didn't care anymore. At first, I thought I would care, that I would keep dwelling on the fact that she didn't acknowledge her own guilt, that I would beg for an apology that never came. But the truth is that the freedom I felt when I stopped wanting Mia's approval was the greatest gift that whole chaos gave me. She didn't forgive me. She didn't come to my birthday. She didn't respond to my mother's messages about Christmas. She stayed away, hurt, revolted. And me? I moved on. I traveled with Ethan to the countryside, met his mother, this time officially, helped paint the wall of the new clinic he opened, learned to deal with the messy dog, and little by little, we built a routine that was light, true, without masks, without games. There was a day when we were lying in the hammock, just listening to the wind and the sound of birds, when he said to me, "Do you still think all of this was just revenge?" I thought for a few seconds, and then I smiled, turning my face to him. Maybe it started that way, but it ended up being the best thing I ever did for myself. He kissed my forehead, and we stayed in silence. Revenge became love, and ironically, that's what must have hurt Mia the most. She always wanted to be the center, the most beautiful, the most desired, the most worthy of attention. But it was offstage, away from the script she always tried to write, that I found what she spent her whole life pretending to have. I was never the family highlight. I was never the most loved. I was never the perfect sister. But I was the only one who knew how to transform pain into strength, rejection into freedom, and revenge into love. And that, no one will ever take away from me. 6 months later, when I thought all the storms had passed, I received an unexpected call. It was Ryan. I didn't answer the first time, or the second. On the third, Ethan was beside me and simply said, "Answer it. You need to close this cycle." "Hello," I replied, with the most neutral voice possible. "Melissa, it's me." His voice sounded tired, defeated. Can I talk to you? In person?" I thought about hanging up, but Ethan was right. There was something that needed to be said. We arranged to meet at a neutral cafe, far from any place that held our memories. When I arrived, he was already there. Disheveled hair, deep dark circles. He seemed to have aged years in just a few months. "Thank you for coming," he said, without looking me in the eyes. "What do you want, Ryan?" He sighed deeply. I wanted to apologize, really, and explain. Explain what? That you were holding hands with my sister 3 weeks before our wedding? "It wasn't like that," he murmured. She came to me when you were sick, said she needed to talk about something important about you, that there were things from your past I needed to know before marrying you." I felt a knot in my stomach. Typical Mia. "And you believed her?" "She brought evidence, or at least things that seemed like evidence. Said you had destroyed some girl's life in high school, that you were vindictive, manipulative. She showed old conversations taken out of context." He finally looked at me. I got confused, scared. "And that's why you went to bed with her?" "No." He shook his head desperately. "She said she had been in love with me since we met, that she just hadn't said anything because she respected you, that if I canceled the wedding, she would be there for me. I was drinking, I was confused with everything she had told me about you." "Ryan," I interrupted, "none of that justifies what you did." "I know." Tears began to form in his eyes. 5 minutes after you left, I understood. I understood that she had manipulated me, that all of it was lies, that I had destroyed the best thing in my life because of her. I remained silent for a long time. "You know what hurts me most, Ryan? It's not even what you did. It's that you didn't trust me. In 2 years together, you believed her words more than who I really was." He lowered his head. "I tried calling you afterward. 1,000 times. I went to your house, but you were never there. Until I saw the photos with him, and I understood it was too late." "It was too late the moment you put your hand in her hair," I replied, standing up. "But thank you for explaining. It helps me be sure I made the right choice." He looked at me one last time. Are you happy with him?" I smiled for the first time during the entire conversation, happier than I imagined I could be. And I left, without resentment, just with the certainty that some doors need to be closed for others to open completely. The conversation with my family was harder. It took 3 months before my mother called asking us to talk. She suggested lunch, just the two of us, to work things out. I found a different woman, older, more tired. The wrinkles around her eyes seemed deeper. "How are you?" she asked, hesitant. "Good, Mom. Very good." "And Ethan?" "He's good, too. We're good." She nodded, nervously fidgeting with her napkin. "I need to apologize to you," she finally said, "for all the years that I didn't see clearly." I felt my chest tighten. "Mom?" "No, let me talk." She looked me in the eyes for the first time. "I always knew Mia was difficult, but I thought if I gave her more attention, if I protected her more, she would change. And in the process, I neglected you. I left you to deal with the consequences of her problems alone." Tears began to stream down my face. "After you confronted us that day, I started putting the pieces together. The friends Mia lost, the boyfriends who disappeared, the stories that never added up. And I realized that you two told me very different versions of the same story, and I always chose to believe hers." "Why?" I asked, my voice choked. "Because she cried louder," my mother admitted, her voice breaking. "Because you always seemed stronger, more capable of taking care of yourself. And I confused strength with not needing support." We sat in silence for a few minutes. "And now?" I asked. "How is Mia?" "She moved to another state. She's in therapy. Said she needs to start over away from all this." My mother hesitated. "She asked me to tell you that she knows she was wrong, but that she can't apologize to you yet. And I can't forgive yet." I replied honestly. "Maybe someday, but not now." "I understand." She reached her hand across the table. Can I try to be a better mother? To you?" I held her hand. "We can try to be a better family, but it will take time." She smiled with tears in her eyes. "I have time." A few weeks later, my father showed up at my house. Without warning, with a bouquet of flowers and the face of someone who didn't quite know what to say. "Can I come in?" he asked, timid. "Of course, Dad." Ethan was in the kitchen and greeted my father politely before stepping away, giving us space to talk. "I like him," my father said, straight to the point. "Seems like a good man." "He is. I came here because your mother said you two talked, and I realized I never apologized to you." My father was never one for many words, so this surprised me. "I always knew Mia was problematic," he continued, "but I thought it wasn't my problem, that it was women's business, that your mother would solve it. But in the end, you both suffered. And you especially." "Dad." "No, daughter. Let me finish." He sat on the edge of the sofa. "I failed as a father. I failed to protect you. I failed to educate her. And I failed to teach you both that sisters should support each other, not destroy each other." I felt a lump in my throat. "Your mother told me about Ryan, about what she did to you." He shook his head. "If it were me, I would never forgive. But you found a way to transform all that pain into something good. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of you." They were the words I had waited my whole life to hear. "Thank you, Dad. Do you think there's still time for me to be a better father?" I smiled, even with my eyes welling up. "There's always time." That night, I told Ethan everything. He listened in silence, just holding my hand. "How do you feel?" he asked when I finished. "Free," I replied, surprised by my own response. For the first time, truly free. "And about Mia?" I thought for a moment. "I hope she finds her peace. Away from me, but I hope she finds it." He smiled and kissed my forehead. "You're incredible, you know that?" "We're incredible," I corrected. "Us." And it was true. Because in the end, it wasn't just about beating Mia or getting revenge on her. It was about learning that I deserved to be loved properly, defended, respected. It was about discovering that family isn't just who's born with you, but who chooses to stay by your side. It was about realizing that sometimes, to find the love of your life, you first need to stop accepting crumbs from those who never valued you. And today, when I wake up next to Ethan, with the dog sleeping at our feet, I know all the battles were worth it, because they brought me here. To him, to us, to peace,